I definitely did do something a little bit unhinged, but listen, I've been so fucking good on this men's cleanse, literally not speaking to a man, and I'm doing it for like me, my mental health, whatever, but sometimes you just have those days. The unhinged bitch is still in me, okay? I can shove her down as much as I want, and I've done that the past like month and a half on this fucking men's cleanse, but not today. She said, bitch, I'm here. I'm ready to just like pop back out. And I was texting Nicole. Normally if I like think about doing something unhinged, I'll text her and I'll be like, I'm thinking about this, because she'll be like, bitch, no, like don't do that. Nicole was like, do it. Oh, the girls are off one today. Like the girls are not on, we're not standing on business today. I still am. I'm not gonna tell you what I did because then I'll expose myself because I did it in secret. Thing is, it's like genuinely fucking embarrassing the way I go about things. And like, I honestly wish this wasn't so public and the person could potentially see this, because I want to tell you guys, like I want to let you know what the fuck I did, but like at the same time it's criminally embarrassing. I just had like a weak moment, you know? I don't even think I had a weak moment. I think I just had a I'm fucking bored moment. Like that's what it was. I said, let me just cause some chaos real quick. But like today I definitely did realize I'm startably insane. Like the thing is, it's like I could just go about things a normal way and do things a normal way. No, I choose to do the weirdest route possible. Ever, who gives a fuck if I'm certifiably insane? I love the little crazy bitch that I am. She might be fucking insane, but like, I love her. Don't worry, I'm back on standing on business tomorrow. Today was just like a little hiccup, a little glitch in the simulation. What the fuck is that word? I don't know. Whatever, we all have those days. Yeah, but I'm back on like my bullshit tomorrow. Like, this is not cute.
My lesbian daughter is trying to force our whole family to dye our hair for Pride Month, so I gave her a brutal reality check. So my 15-year-old daughter has recently come as out lesbian. She is our only child, and my husband and I were extremely supportive of her. We have since stayed up many nights, doing research on how to better support your child after coming out. But our daughter almost seems to have gotten a whole lot worse attitude-wise. Since coming out, she has made every single conversation she has about gay people, about the discrimination they face, which are real issues, and I can't deny that. My main problem is when she tells us to try harder to be allies to her. At first my husband and I tolerated this kind of things from her, but as time went on it has become harder and harder to keep her mouth shut. It doesn't help that if anyone doesn't agree with her on a topic, even if it's anything not at all related to her sexuality, she is quick to call homophobia. My husband and I have become victims of these things a lot, and it hurts a lot when the daughter that you love dearly and truly support claims that you are homophobic and don't love her. It all boiled over yesterday night during dinner. It is Pride Month, and my daughter has dyed her hair in order to support it. Cool, I have nothing against it. I think Pride is a good cause to support, and my husband and I support it myself. We promised my daughter we would attend the parade with her a few weeks ago. Well, last night my daughter started talking about Pride, and how important it was for everyone to do as much as they can in order to show support. She then went on to say that she thinks it's disgusting how a straight person will not openly show support during Pride, and compared it to racism. We got into a conversation about it, and during it our daughter told us she would like us to dye our hair for the month of Pride. She said it can be any color, as long as the color is on the rainbow. I told my daughter that as much as we support her, my husband and I were not going to do that. We told her we don't see how us dyeing our hair was going to do anything really. She blew up, calling us homophobic, saying that we don't support her, saying we're anti-gay and so on. My husband was the one who actually had enough, and he yelled stop so loud that even I got scared for a second. Our daughter instantly got quiet, but I could see she was still angry. My husband started speaking and told her to check her privilege. She tried asking how she was privileged, and my husband replied. He stated that she is gay, and is fortunate enough to live in a country where the LGBTQ community are not seen as animals. He told her that she gets to prance around calling people names if they disagree with her and call homophobia if she doesn't like something. My husband then pulled something up on his phone. He told my daughter to look. It was a video of gay people in less progressive countries speaking about how they were treated, followed by a video of a gay person being punished. The video was horrible. Once it ended, my husband told her that this was the reality for a lot of gay people in the world, and the fact she screams homophobia at us for not dyeing our hair during Pride Month is incredibly insensitive to gay people everywhere else in the world. He told her that not dyeing our hair isn't homophobia, and if she thinks she is, then she has been brainwashed. My daughter left without saying much, and has not spoken a lot to us today either. I know we need to talk to her, but we don't know how. My lesbian daughter is trying to force our whole family to dye our hair for Pride Month, so I gave her a brutal reality check. My husband and I were able to sit down with our daughter later that night and have a true heart-to-heart. As parents, we felt like we should be the ones to open the conversation. We started by saying that we love her a lot, and whether she believes it or not, we accept and support her, and reassured her that we will be there at her wedding cheering her on when she meets the one. She seemed very happy to hear that. My husband then started speaking. He apologized for doing what he did and stated that he definitely took things far, but then stated that ultimately, gay people face much bigger problems than a straight person not dyeing their hair. He explained to her that putting the videos he showed to her and us not dyeing our hair in the same category of homophobia is insensitive to much bigger issues faced by the LGBTQ community. We then both told her, as calmly as we could, that we will not be dyeing our hair, as that it not something we would like to do, and that decision has nothing to do with how we feel about the LGBTQ. We asked her for her thoughts on the matter. She said she took the night to think about, and as painful as it is to admit it, she states that she was wrong. She says she understands how her constant name-calling, stating we are homophobic for not agreeing with her, was something that was wrong. She also admitted, and this really hurt to hear, that when she learned that if someone disagreed with her, because she was gay, she could play the homophobia card, and it would usually result in her getting her way. She stated that she was doing this mostly to us, however, and not as much elsewhere. My husband explained to her that what she was doing was manipulation, and were she to do that to others, it would push them away from her. Our daughter apologized, and we assured that we still love her and support her again too. Make sure she knows.
I, 25 female, called the cops on my spouse, 28 male last night, and now I don't know how to fix it. So last night I went out to dinner and then a few drinks with my friend. I came home afterwards and my boyfriend of 8.5 years had a few beers too, which was fine. We were both in a good mood and everything was great. I gave him my leftovers from dinner and he ate them and was very giddy and grateful. Fast forward about an hour. We were listening to music and the volume had been at a reasonable volume, but one of his favorite songs come on and he wanted to blast it up. Out of respect for my neighbors who have kids in the same building, I tried to reason with him to keep it a bit lower, but still a louder volume than what we had been listening up to this point. He kept insisting that he would not back down. He tried to grab the remote out of my hands and neither of us were letting go. We struggled for about a minute, at which point I grabbed his thumb to pry his hand off the remote and I held onto it with a good amount of force for a few seconds more, moving his hand away from me. While I still had his thumb in my grip, he hit me in the jaw and that's when I let go. He said I tried to break his thumb and that this was a defensive hit, and then tried to continue reaching for the remote again. He was not touching me at this point, but I warned him if he didn't calm down and back off that I would call 911. He said again that it was self-defense and I wouldn't do it. So I dialed 911 and showed him before pressing the talk button. He again said, "Go ahead, you're not going to do it," and then reached at my phone to press the talk button himself. And I backed my phone away from him, surprised for a moment, but then just decided to hit the button and go ahead with the call. The cops showed up while I was still talking with dispatch, and we went over the incident outside while other officers went in to arrest him for assault. After giving my statement at the station and going over everything, I then realized that he was actually going to have to go to court for this, and I've basically been crying on and off ever since. No incident like this has ever happened before with us, and he has been under some stress with work this past week, and he has a short temper when drinking, but never gets violent with me or anyone when he's drunk. He doesn't even throw stuff around or break things either, just gets into arguments a bit more easily. I don't want this to end up giving him a record and mess up the rest of his life in terms of jail time, or even just making it difficult for him to get employment because of this one incident where yes, he hit me, but I'm not really injured, just shocked honestly. And now there's a no contact order on him until his court date, that's a month from now. I honestly just want him to come home so we can talk things through, but because this is considered assault, our entire relationship is up in the air right now, and I hate it so much, I wish last night had never happened. We live in Ontario, Canada, by the way. Does anyone know how I could get the Crown to drop the charges, or at least drop the no contact order?
Am I wrong for telling the truth about my best friend at her wedding? Story time. So my best friend, who we will call Amy, got married last week. Me and my partner Steve both just bought a house. I'm also expecting our son in January. So when I was asked to be maid of honour by Amy, I let her know that I would be extremely limited on what I could do, especially financially, because obviously we have a lot going on at the minute. But of course I said that I would try my best. So we had the hen party. It was really fun. And then I also paid for mine and my partner's dinner at the meal prep. What's it called? Rehearsal dinner. And we also had a gift of £300, which we were going to give as well, but I'll tell you why I didn't give that later. So I was really enjoying the maid of honour duties until I started to get loads of random texts from her husband, who we'll call Dave. And towards the wedding day, it started to get, oh my god, there was so many. You know, because I'm like pregnant and I've just bought a house, I didn't always respond to him. And then if I didn't respond to him, I would get a call from Amy being like, why aren't you speaking to Dave? What's happening? So these are some of the reasons why Dave was messaging me. 1, I wasn't allowed to talk about my pregnancy at the wedding at all, which I get, but I'm also not going to take the limelight. 2, they made it very clear that they weren't going to order any special food for me because I was pregnant. I never asked for this. I was absolutely fine eating what everybody else was eating. Number 3, he was complaining that I wasn't helping him enough, even though he had a best man. He was complaining that I hadn't completed the favours or the seating charts yet, which none of that had been my job. 4, this is my favourite. He said if I was truly a great maid of honour, I would have offered to pay for the bar bill. 5, Dave wanted to approve my maid of honour speech, and he wanted his name to be mentioned as much as Amy's name would be mentioned. And I was like, right, babe, well, I don't really know you that much, so you're not being included. And then verbatim, this man told me to just make some stories up. And then he made it very apparent that I wasn't allowed to mention anybody other than the 2 of them in any of my speeches. And there were to be no inside jokes about Amy that didn't include him. 6, he told me I had to keep it together and not let my pregnancy show throughout the whole entire wedding. Also, he wanted me to change the bridesmaid dresses so I wouldn't be matching everybody else's so that my bump couldn't be seen. I was absolutely shocked. So I spoke to Amy about it and she told me to just let it go for now and let it all pass. She distinctly said to not give her any jip because she was the one that had to deal with this behaviour for the rest of her life. So on the day of the wedding, all the bride and the groom do is scold me, berate me, talk down to me. I head down to the bar with Steve to go get a drink and Dave's mum is there and she tells Steve not to get drunk because I've ruined their day enough already. And at that point, I chose violence. I decided that I would be taking home that £300 gift that I decided to give them. I said, so can we all raise a glass? Whilst I quote Amy. I said, I wish you all the luck in the world because you're the one that's going to have to put up with this shite for the rest of your life. And I said, I'll support you through anything, even the divorce. So what do you think? Am I wrong here?
My terminally ill ex-husband asked to see me one last time. My current husband said he'll divorce me if I do it. My ex-husband and I got divorced 3 years ago. We didn't have kids, although we wanted them so badly. We knew each other for over 10 years, and we had been through so much together. He helped me out when my family abandoned me and quit his job to move with me. He even helped me get my degree, and I never wanted us to divorce, but he was the one to initiate because he was secretly diagnosed with a medical condition, said he didn't want to ruin what we had and become a burden. He's very sick right now and has asked to see me probably for the last time. My current husband got extremely upset with me when I mentioned it to him and threatened to divorce me if I go. I'm 5 months pregnant and feel like I'm seeing a side of my now husband that I've never seen before. Called this inappropriate and that my ex was being manipulative. He told me he'd divorce me if I see him, but this could be my last chance to say goodbye to him. I can't even imagine how terrible it would feel if he passes away without seeing him for the last time. But there's a lot at stake here, and I don't want to sneak behind my husband's back. Am I the asshole for showing up to my ex's wedding in a pretty dress? My ex and I had a peaceful divorce. We co-parent our 3 children together, and there haven't really been many issues. My ex is getting married to Stephanie. I like Stephanie. She has been great with my kids and makes my ex happy. My ex invited me to their wedding, and I was happy. It was my day with the kids, so it made sense for me to come was his reasoning. When I arrived at the wedding, Stephanie thanked me for dropping the kids off and brushed me off. We had never had any issues before. I explained that I was going to stay for the reception, and she was very upset. I was confused because I assumed she knew I would be in attendance. It turned out she didn't consider that I would actually accept the invitation. I told her that I was invited, and since I took the 2-hour drive, I would be staying for the entire duration. She didn't like this response. Stephanie asked me to leave, and I stood my ground. She went on to complain about my dress up staging hers. My ex and former mother-in-law helped her to calm down, and the wedding shortly began. I thought that was the end of it, but later in private, Stephanie accused me of trying to ruin her special day. She's convinced that I wanted to show off and make the wedding about my divorce. She said it was rude for me to not leave after the bride requested it because it was her special day. I told her that I am not responsible for her insecurities and once again reminded her that I have no interest in stealing my ex back. This is the exact dress that OP posted that they wore to the wedding. My wedding was ruined by a jealous ex and she decided to brag about it on Reddit. My husband and I have been married for 2 weeks and I'm already having regrets. My husband's ex has really been making things difficult for us. She makes sure my stepchildren call me by my first name rather than any term of endearment. Our wedding happened to fall on one of her days with the kids. My husband invited her for reasons I am still unsure of. I was aware of her receiving an invitation, but my husband never informed me that she had accepted it. She came with the kids an hour later. I assumed she was dropping them off, but she had intentions to stay. She was dressed more elegantly than me, and that felt off, so I asked her to leave. She disrespectfully told me that she would be staying. My husband and mother-in-law told me that she was like family and would not be leaving. I was disgusted by this, because it was obvious what this woman was doing. She posted the story on here, but in a way that made me out to be a toxic villain in the story. The story appeared on the popular page of Reddit and was also on a friend's TikTok For You page. It wasn't hard to identify myself because I recognized the dress, and she also used my real name in the story. I don't understand why she is doing this because we have been civil with each other until now. I'm very offended by the way she degraded me in her defensive comments and by the fact that my husband took her side.
My girlfriend gave birth to our first child and I know I'm not the biological father, so I revealed I knew as soon as she gave birth. When my girlfriend, 28, told me, 31, she was pregnant, I couldn't have been happier. We had been trying for a baby for a while. The doctor had told me I had low sperm count, but it wasn't impossible for us to have a baby, so we held off on therapy. Now we finally conceived. I couldn't wait for the baby to be born. I started reading baby books and buying stuff for the kid, all the things new fathers do. One day I was taking a break at work when a guy I had never seen before came up to me and asked if I was John. I told him yeah, then he explains to me that he was seeing my girlfriend while we were dating. They met at a work convention and saw each other for a few months before they broke it off. When she found out she was pregnant, she knew it was his. She called him and they decided the best thing they could do was say it was mine. That way my girlfriend wouldn't have to come out as a cheater, and the guy, Michael was his name, was not really ready to have a baby, so it worked out for him too. They thought it would be best if they just passed it off as mine. But then Michael started feeling guilty about the whole thing. He said he couldn't let me raise his child thinking it was mine. He asked me not to tell my girlfriend he had spoken to me. He said he didn't want her to be upset during the pregnancy. He didn't want her to lose or abort the baby. Staying with my girlfriend through the last months of the pregnancy was one of the hardest things I did. But I knew Michael was right. The affair wasn't the baby's fault. He or she deserved to come to term in a healthy environment. So I just waited it out. A few months went by and my girlfriend had the baby. I helped her in every way I could. I carried her bag and took her to the hospital. I was in the hospital room with her. I acted like a good boyfriend while she gave birth. She gave me the baby to hold, and that's when I told her everything. I told her how I had met up with Michael and that I knew the baby wasn't mine. I also told her that I didn't trust her and didn't want to stay with her. I knew that leaving my girlfriend with a new baby would serve her right for what she did to me. But leaving that baby in the hospital that day was one of the hardest things I've ever done. My girlfriend has called many times to try and get back together, but I just ignore her. Am I the jerk?